the calls. You'll eventually get the 20% back. That Silver Connect card is going to pay her co-payments. Remicade, I believe, is an injectable, and her hospitalization co-payments. And tell them to turn his Part B on. Let's talk about very important stuff like college funding. Great letter to the editor today. And it's funny, there was a cartoon caption above it, and it was about an SAT question. The caption says, well, it's an $80,000 loan at an 8% interest rate. Well, obviously, 8 times 8 is 64, so $6,400 a year of interest at an 8% rate. And that basically, with amortization, is going to be quite costly. So I think it's a perfect time to start talking about college, about what you, the listeners, can do to help fund college. I could not be happier. I have Ed Long, a partner with Gillespie, Robinson, and Grimm on the phone. Ed is actually a friend of mine. And why is he a friend of mine? Because Ed does the foundation investments for the Mattituck Museum, and I've grown to trust him. So basically today's focus is planning for college education and also for retirement. I've got the financial guru on the phone. Ed, Michael Regan, take it away. How are you, sir?
Hello, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. First of all, Ed Long has a history of being on the airwaves already, so the radio thing is natural for you, correct?
Yes, sort of.
All right, so let's talk about Dr. Yellen, interest rates, what's happening in the financial markets, and of callers. Of course, you're going to want to ask Ed because his time is very valuable, and we are lucky enough to have him for about 15 to 20 minutes. So if you want to call in and ask any portfolio questions, I know there's Joe Stango in the morning, but Ed Long is my guy. Ed Long, Auburn University, Southern boy, such an incredible guy, good heart. He's been doing this for 20-plus years, I believe 21 or 22 in the investment banking industry. Ed, you're based out of Greenwich, and I really trust you. What can my listeners do to learn from you today?
Well, I appreciate those kind words. Well, as your question relates to the Federal Reserve, the improving economy has really allowed the Fed to begin to reduce their monetary stimulus, which is ongoing right now.
Okay.
Believe it or not, the inflation rate, the stated inflation rate, is very benign at 1.5%. And this has really been a great environment for the Fed because it's going to get them out of pumping up the money supply. So this is really what the doctor ordered, and it's really a function of the economy becoming self-sustaining. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
All right. I'm sure my listeners are going to have questions. 203-757-1320. Ferris, by the way, it was great to hear your voice on Larry's show. So you see that the equities are gaining some speed and that gold will recess a little bit?
Well,
maybe we're not going to pick a particular stock on the airwaves, but what's some suggestions what people should be doing with their money?
Sure. The market is volatile, obviously, and already this year we've had two corrections, and the market's relatively flat year to date. And this is certainly after the 30% plus gain last year. But what history shows us is that when the market does go up so much, that really predicts good economic environment. And so what we're seeing now is, in fact, the evidence coming through that the economy is improving. We did have a soft patch in the first quarter with the weather. There was some data that came in very weak. Obviously, if you're looking for a car or trying to build a house, a lot of cold and snow and wind will defer your decisions, most likely, if you're living in the Northeast or the Midwest. So that did impact the economy. But when you dig down deeper and you look at some of the industrial parts of the economy, for example, there is an acceleration. And if you exclude the government part of the economy, certainly there is an element of that. The private economy is very strong. And so what this means for investors and savers is that the market can certainly go higher. Our companies domestically are in very good shape, and with a little more increase in demand for products, they will obviously have to produce more goods, which will produce more profits, and the market will respond accordingly.
Pretty brilliantly said. And you are, by nature, a conservative person like myself. I feel that 7 to 10% is plenty not to be greedy. You shouldn't try to get a 20% interest because the following year you're going to be negative 14 or something. What's your long-term future goal for the recession and the recovery of what has happened?
Well, certainly, with any investment, you have to understand your own risk tolerance.
Risk tolerance, of course.
And you have to understand where we are in the economic cycle. And by reconciling those two things, you can begin to make some good investment decisions. We always start with looking at what are the risks, because it is fairly easy to speculate and to just kind of guess where things might go. But the more important or the more analytical parts of what we do is assessing what we call the risk-reward ratio, meaning if things don't go according to our projections, what is the downside, and compare that to the opportunity for gain. So having said all that, the stock market historically has appreciated 7 to 8% a year over the very long term, going back to well before we were born.
1926.
That's right. And even on an inflation-adjusted basis, meaning after inflation, the real return is 6% a year. So certainly in good years like last year, it's going to be above that trend line, and in not so good years, it'll be below. But if we can shoot for that 6 to 8% annualized return, we will be doing our job, and I think our clients will be very happy. And that, by the way, that's where we think the market and the economy can go over the next couple of years. And if I just may give you a little reason why that's true.
Please do.
We have come through a horrific period with the Great Recession in the 2008-2009 time period. And that really took care of a lot of the excesses, obviously, with the housing bubble and the subprime mortgages. But currently, we don't see really any big excesses in the general economy. And you generally, to make money, you want to avoid those. And so as long as there's no big excesses, the economy can keep chugging along, gain momentum, and that's a great recipe for stock appreciation, certainly if inflation is benign, which it currently is. And so we think based on that setup, the economy can grow for a prolonged period of time. Doesn't mean it's going to be a terrific, above average growth rate, but 2 to 3% can get your stocks moving up very fast. So we think that there's still a lot of opportunity. The market's fairly valued and certainly has more room to go.
And a proper balanced portfolio, which I know you do a great job on because I'm on the finance committee and I always have to watch the numbers. And you know what? Your fees are very, very affordable. We don't want to discuss money on the airwaves, but for someone trying to reach you at your firm, they simply just call 203-629-2800. The staff is always lovely. They take my call. You've got some brilliant consultants with Blake. Blake is a Harvard graduate, Wharton School of Business. I mean, you're surrounded by smart think tank people.
Well, certainly, our firm's been around for a long time, and we're very fortunate to have good people, and, the stability of our staff really helps our clients. And, I think more importantly, the investment process is a proven one. And
it is.
I don't think it would be too foreign to many of your listeners that, high-quality securities are very profitable if you can get your hands on the right ones. So I guess that's the best way to sum that up.
And I see that Coca-Cola is really taking a huge hit, and unfortunately McDonald's has taken another hit. It's like, one thing I'd like to stress to the listeners, you're not buying one stock when you get Gillespie, Robinson, and Grimm. You get a balanced portfolio. I see it because Bob, my boss, is always saying you check with him before the transactions. You're actively managing this money on a daily or weekly basis. You're not just letting it sit and go golf all the time. I really, really appreciate that.
Well, certainly, if you do hire a money manager, you want to have someone who has the expertise and the in-depth knowledge and how to analyze what companies are going to appreciate, above the market, and
right.
and that's really, our expertise. And you spoke about Coca-Cola recently. We had sold that a while back, and we had determined that soda water is not really a high growth area, and it basically boils down to what's the growth going to be in the next couple of years, and we decided to go elsewhere. And so those are the long-term trends you talked about, but they're important, and sometimes they're kind of hidden in plain sight. Sometimes they're pretty easy, and sometimes they're very hard, and it just takes the courage to kind of go against the crowd sometimes when all the experts are saying, no, don't worry, everything is going to be okay, and you sort of have to take your own intuition and your own investment process and overlay it and make sure you make the right decision.
For my listeners, what's an entry-level investment to be able to get your firm to manage their money?
Well, we traditionally are in the high net worth space and in the institutional space, so it is a pretty high level. And
that's all right. I would say, listeners.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you do, and the reason I say that is because we're not the only solution for people. Folks who have more modest means, mutual funds, ETFs are certainly the way to go. Mm-hmm. But if you want to be in charge of your tax destiny, and you want an individual to watch your securities and to actually know what you own, then we would certainly be a good fit for you. And
the threshold to get in, the monetary investment, 100,000, 250. What's the entry? Roughly.
No, it's well above that.
Very impressive. Okay, so we'll just leave that a moot point. And I will close with, if you have a serious amount of money saved and you're conservative and you've got your trust in order and you need a professional, give me a call. I will get you his phone number, or you can call them direct and just say you heard Ed on the radio show today. It's Gillespie, Robinson and Grimm, Incorporated, Investment Counsel. He has an MBA out of Arizona. Brilliant person. Was an engineer prior to moving into the investment world, which just shows intelligence in my eyes. They are at 203-629-2800. Ed, I will definitely have you on every couple months just to keep you in the loop on what's happening around here.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Very much for your time.
Thank you.
Ed Long, brilliant.